Yes, they say Australia is a dangerous place. The fact that there's so many snakes, spiders, crocodiles, sharks. But the reality is, here in the bush, it's not so much them I have to worry about. Well, crocodiles, they're up the Northern Territory, North Queensland, so I don't have to worry about crocodiles here yet. And snakes, yes, I have to be careful. There's snakes, as we encountered one the other day. But unlike America, I mean, my American mates would say, you know, geez, you Australians are very dangerous. You've got these snakes and all these animals. And I said, well, in LA right now, well, it was, you have mountain lions, cougars, you got coyotes. In America, you got wolves. In America, you also have to think about when you go camping, you've got to separate your food from the tent because of the bears. People get attacked by bears, mountain lions, cougars, you name it, they get attacked by these snakes. Here in Australia, I don't have to worry about a mountain lion coming out through the bush, come at me, or a bear, a grizzly for that matter. But the biggest killer is actually exposure. Exposure to the elements. People get lost in the winter. They get hypothermia, which means the body temperature lowers, and then they end up, because they're not equipped for the cold conditions. But like today, the thing I have to worry about is heat exhaustion. It's about 35. It's about 10 o'clock in the morning. And it's already 35 degrees. And I just had some water, and the water was like coming out of a hot tap water. That's how hot it was. So the reality is, Australia in many ways is a lot more safer, but the reality is you've got to be aware of the conditions you are walking in. A young man died up in Brisbane recently because he died of heat exhaustion. And he was cycling. And, you know, heat exhaustion just comes up with headaches. You get disorientated, feel nauseous. And your body temperature, our body temperature is about 36 degrees. Anything above that, you're in trouble. It gets to about 40, you're in real trouble. What happens with hypothermia, when you get heat exhaustion, is the body's vital organs shut down. That's what happens, they shut down. And if you're not treated quickly, it results in death, and it can come pretty quickly too. So whenever you're walking in the bush on a day like today, which is 30 odd degrees, when you're walking in the bush on a day like today, be aware that heat exhaustion is a real risk. I've just taken a stop, sit in the shade a bit, have some water, cool down. But you need to cool down, and but that is the thing. I don't have to worry about bears. Koala bears, not really. Drop bears, maybe. But this is the reality of the Australian bush. Problem with the bush for people is that people get lost. And I'm on a track, but it's amazing how many times people have gotten lost. And I'm talking experienced bushwalkers and things like that, people like that. It's interesting when you go off the track, or you're in the middle of nowhere in the bush, and it can get very disorientating, really does, because there's no, well, where the heck am I? And what happens, a lot of people they panic. We can last 40 days without food, but we can only last 3 days without water. And as I said before, heat stroke is a very real risk, a possibility here. So we really need to be, whenever you walk anywhere, not just the bush, in the desert, in the woods, wherever you are, that you are in an open and hostile environment. The environment, the bush, the woods, the jungle, the desert are neutral. They don't care whether we're human or not. This is not some PlayStation game when you come out into the bush, into the wild environment, such as the sea. When you go swimming in the sea, surfing in the sea, you are entering another environment, one which is not naturally ours. People fall down cliffs because they go, oh look, I'm going to go get a selfie. Well, bang. Okay, be mindful of where you are, because you just got to take your awareness and realise that this is not your living room. This is not your living room and you're on a PlayStation app or whatever it is. This is the environment. This is a wild, hostile environment. One that is completely neutral. Yes, the pole of that's holding my camera up is actually getting quite hot as well. So this is a very hot day today, even though there's a bit of a breeze. It's still very hot. It's supposed to be a storm coming this afternoon, so I'm hoping that that'll cool things down a lot. Yes, one of the first signs of heat exhaustion is usually getting a headache and the mouth gets really dry. So if you're ever feeling like you've got a headache, or someone else feeling that they're getting a headache on a very hot day, stop whatever you're doing, get somewhere cool, drink some water, get them cool. Whatever you do, just get them cool. And so what's happening is the brain begins to fry, so to speak, in heat exhaustion, because what happens is your main organs just shut down, and then people can lapse into a coma and die because everything's just shutting down. So take it seriously. If you are feeling like you've got a headache and feeling a bit dizzy, nauseous, stop whatever you're doing. Get that person, you or that other individual, to a cool spot, get them cool, and get them to a medical assistance hospital straight away. Now, this is a bit of now that I'm out of the bush, just a bit of an add-on to this video. That day, when I was in the bush there, when I said it was about 35 degrees at 10 o'clock in the morning, that day actually went up to 46 degrees. And I'd set out early that morning knowing that it was going to get very hot that day. I intended to stay out an hour. I got caught up with a few, chasing after a couple of wasps and that. But when I first set out, it was pleasant. The morning was quite pleasant, and then when I mentioned the breeze was actually quite cool, not bad. But by that point, you saw me begin to talk about bears and things like that. Everything changed. It was quick. That breeze ended up being a hot breeze. It changed to a very, very dry, hot breeze. Now, I don't mind heat. In fact, my family and friends say to me, it's 30 odd degrees, you're walking around in jeans. Yeah, no problems. I've been in Pakistan, Iran, India. Iran, we experienced a day of 50 degrees in this valley, and that didn't bother me. By the time I got to the end of the track, when I was talking about heat stroke, I was starting to feel it. I mean, really feel it. I was getting a headache. My mouth was just totally dry. And I've been in the bush. I've worked in hot conditions in the Northern Territory and things like that. But that is the first time in my life I realised I had to get out of the bush and I had to get home. I had to get somewhere to get cool. The water I was drinking, forget it, might as well be drinking out of a hot tap. It was that hot. It was actually about 40 odd degrees that time. So this is just a warning that heat stroke can strike at anyone in any time. That, like I said, I had to get out of the bush that day. So take heed when you're in extreme heat just keep yourself cool, because we keep hydrated, because when heat stroke, everything just shuts down, and as I said before, your brain literally just fries. So it can fall into a coma. So take it seriously. I really felt it that day, and that, for me, is very unusual.